Raiden's one of the best shoot-'em-ups of all times, and it got ported everywhere. The Jaguar was one of these places. But let's just not take a look at that one. Let's compare it against one of the greatest on the TG16 and see which one comes up on top.
Second Opinion Games.
First off, let's take a look at the TurboGrafx. You're going to notice that for a 16-bit system, the game looks beautiful, and a wide open field where you can see the entire screen. Also, the TurboGrafx controller has turbo buttons, which does come in handy because then you don't have to bash the button down as you destroy things. It's a lot easier to hold it in. However, there is a lot more sprites on screen in the TurboGrafx version, and they're everywhere, and shooting projectiles, and very hard to avoid. But the worst thing, and I mean the worst thing about the TurboGrafx, is when you die, you start back at a checkpoint, and it makes it very difficult to collect the power-ups needed to kill the boss. You die on the boss, you go back to a checkpoint, where maybe you could get 1 or 2 power-ups before getting to the boss. Now, if you couldn't beat him the first time with all of your ammunition stockpiled, well, what makes you think you could beat that same boss when you have none of these upgrades? It makes it very difficult and for the masters only. Now, let's take a look at the Jaguar version. So the menus are about what you would expect. You could choose number of continues, which why wouldn't you want it to be the max unless you wanted to truly test yourself and see how few continues you could beat the game in. And you'll also notice that the graphics are a little more clear than the TurboGrafx 16 version previously shown. But also on the right side is the worst atrocity. Here is this big partition that takes up a massive amount of real estate on your screen, and enemies can be underneath that. So flying to the right could lead to your death. You don't know what's underneath it until you're on top of it. So stick to the left-hand side of the screen. Well, you're pretty much forced to anyway. The power-ups work the same in both places. One power-up, the red, is for spread shot, when blue is for lasers. Lasers can take out enemies quicker, but you're leaving yourself open to attack from the sides. The spread shot takes out the weak enemies relatively easy and clears the screen. However, bosses would take a lot more hits. So it's a trade-off. There's also a secondary weapon where you could have homing missiles or regular missiles. The homing are weaker, but they find your target. The regular missiles, quite a bit more powerful, and here is that same trade-off again. Now, you could switch it up by having the homing missiles with the laser, or you could double down the damage and have the regular missiles with the laser. The choice is up to you, and that's what the best part of Raiden is. Figuring out exactly how you want to play the game and what suits best for you. Also on the Jaguar, I want to note there is no turbo buttons, which is pretty horrible when it comes to playing this game. I don't know why no one thought of just holding in the button to shoot stuff on this version of the game. I mean, they had to have known you had to be mashing this button repeatedly, and repeatedly. Yeah, that's me showing how much repetition's involved, because it takes about a half hour to beat the game from start to finish. And the game overall isn't very satisfying, and that's because the bosses, well, they were standard for the time, but the bosses here are basically just ships that they just attached crap to. It's not really very inventive, and, well, at least on the Jaguar version, you don't even have to figure out their patterns. Just drop your bombs, and get in close, and fire at will. You die, well, now you have 3 more bombs. Drop away. The TurboGrafx version, you don't have this. Matter of fact, once you die on the TurboGrafx version, you might as well just shut the game off and start all over again, because you really need to be fully powered up to take out anyone in this game. Which is why, unfortunately, I'm going to recommend the Jaguar version over all the other versions. When you die on the Jaguar version, you could just keep on playing. so at least you could finally beat the game. The TurboGrafx version, you have to be a Zen master to accomplish this feat. Well, the Jaguar, you just need about an hour of your time. Of course, if you see either one of these games for a decent price, pick them up and buy them. Well, unless you don't have the other system. However, I'm going to stick with the Jaguar version, because of the fact I could actually beat this game. Some people really like the TurboGrafx version for its extra challenge, but me, I just like to beat a game every once in a while. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching.